Welcome to Chapter 16, which talks about troubleshooting in operating systems. This is where we cut through the noise. You need to memorize every obscure tool. You need to know the 20% knowledge, 20% of the knowledge that solves 80% of the troubleshooting cheat code, which is the right steps where you need to know what the right tools for the right exam nuggets. Let's dive in, and that's when you'll know what to do in the troubleshooting. So, CompTia has favorite multiple choice step, which is the 6-step troubleshooting process. Yeah, so it has like the 6-step troubleshooting process, and if you mess this order, you lose a point. It goes like this: identify, theory, test, plan, verify, and documentation. Did you get it? No, you didn't. Identify, theory, test, plan, verify, and documentation. Always document last and always identify first. And if you skip the step 6, that's when you'll know. And that actually means, now that you've got that order, it means identify the problem, which ask, observe, and reproduce, and then establish the theory. You could be wrong, and then test the theory. Try it out first, and that's when you'll know. And then plan, and implement, which is fix it safely. Verify functionality to see if it's really fixed, and document, which you need to document everything, even on the exam. And now you know the 6 steps. Okay, and now we're talking about WinRAR, which is your operating system emergency toolkit. WinRAR is actually Windows Recovery Environment. WinRE, whatever you choose to call it. I choose to call it WinRAR. And when the Windows refuses to boot, your best friend is WinRAR. The Windows Recovery Environment startup repair fixes the boot loops, and the system restore the rolls back to working state, and then reset, reinstalls the Windows, and then while saving files. The system image recovery nukes the system back to the saved image. You can access it with shift restart, and so the USB installer, or recovery in the settings. That's how you can access it. And then if your operating system is down, the WinRAR is how you bring it back up. So that's what you do. There's the startup repair, there's the system restore, and then there's the reset to the PC, and then there's the uninstall updates, and then there's the system image recovery. You just choose what you want to do, but these are all the things that you can do within the WinRAR. And then we talk about your diagnostic dream team. Once the system does a boot, here's your detective squads. The task manager shows how hogging CPU, RAM, or the startup. Reliability monitor gives you a timeline of crashes, and if you see a red X, that's when you went sideways. The SFC, what does the SFC stand for? It stands for System File Checker. That's what it stands for. And the SFC with the command SFC/scan now. That's what repairs your corrupted Windows files. And the event viewer. Well, it's like a haystack of logs. Use it if you want the needle. But my advice is you always start with the reliability monitor. It's the cleanest snapshot. And now we talk about the boot failures and the BSOD. What does that stand for? Blue screen of death. Yeah. So the dreaded blue screen of death. On exams, it might show up as a proprietary crash screen. You must know the causes is like bad drivers, The causes of like a blue screen of death is like a bad driver or hardware or update, And then when there's like no operating system found, that's when you know, okay, there's like a wrong boot order or there's like a dead drive or corrupted MBR. What does MBR stand for? It stands for Master Boot Record. Yeah, so that's what the MBR does, And then the frequent reboots, if that's what's happening, it's just caused by overheating or like a fast setup, or the power supply unit, And then these are the things that you need to do when you're facing these problems, such as you clean the fans if there's like overheating or you check the BIOS if you have like a wrong boot and there's no operating system. You see, so just follow the solutions to the problems and you'll be good. Okay, guys. Now we talk about the slow boot or the slow login. Everyone hates these. Is your PC, and your PC isn't lazy, guys. It's actually like overwhelmed. And the slow boot, that's caused by like your startup apps, your Open Task Manager. Just go to your Open Task Manager and you need to like you look at the startup, the setups tab, and then you disable like the bloatware. That's all you need to do. And then when it comes to the slow login, that's probably like a corrupted user profile. All you need to do is fix it by creating a new account and repairing via registry. That's all you need to do. Repairing by, And then when it comes to the USB, it has errors that happen even when you like overload. The USB has errors even when you like overload the high bandwidth ports. Remember, like a fast startup is often like the culprit for weird reboot problems. Disable it if you find it flaky. So when they say like switch your computer off and on, in this case it actually does help, but you can't switch your wife off and on if she starts giving you problems. Okay, behave, guys. And then we look at the hardware that is like hiding in like software problems. Here's the trick that CompTia loves. Sometimes software issue isn't like software at all. These like random shutdowns that could be caused by the PSU, power supply unit, or overheating or crash. And if it's like crashing apps, that's probably like the RAM failing. And then if you have like small slow performances, that's probably like the SSD that is dying, solid state drive that is dying, and if you have like a blue screen of death, BSOD, that's maybe like your graphic processing unit, your GPU, Yeah. And if your system clock resets every boot, that's not Windows, brah. Your CMOS battery is probably just dead, and you just need to like replace it. See, so these are the things that you can like solve. How it's not that big of a deal. It's probably something else. And then there's certain things that are like red flags, and one of the red flags are the smells, the noises, or the visual cues. When you start smelling something burning and it's just you and your computer in the room, that's a red flag, baba. Or it's like an electrical hazard or fire hazard. You need to like switch it off immediately. And then when you start hearing grinding noises like baba, your fan is failing or it's your hard disk drive that is failing, what you need to do is replace, and then you back up your data. And then you get like bulging capacitors. You're bulging here. Hey, Baba, the motherboard is failing. You need to replace that motherboard. Must say Dumbil, when your motherboard is pregnant now and you're seeing bumps, that's what bulging means. Anyways, and then the loud fans, when your fans start making noise and start sounding like a airport in your engine, baba, you need to dust. There's dust that is like building up, and your unit is actually like heating up, is overheating. So you need to clean with like compressed air, like just spray everything, spray the dust off. And then if you're not getting any post lights, which means power on self-test lights, there's something wrong with your power supply unit or your RAM or your GPU. You just figure it out when. All you need to do is just reset the components, test them one by one to know which one is good and which one is bad. Yeah. And then the exam golden rule is you need to know the capacitor. If your capacitor is swelling, that is not repairable. Yeah, just replace the board. Okay guys, so these are the must-know exam nuggets. Like, this is like your cheat sheet, guys, that's gonna help you. When it comes to software, you need to know that SFC in Scan now is like the system file check, and the startup repair, it helps with the repair windows. The reset this PC, it repairs with the installation. The task managers, that helps with what? The startup tab, and then you fix the slow boot. The reliability monitor, that's the red X, and the crash. And when it comes to hardware, that's when you know blue screen of death. You know, proprietary crash screen. The CMOS battery, yes, that fixes the time of your computer. You don't have to reset every time. And then the grinding noise, red flag. There's a failing fan there, or hard disk drive, HDD. And then when your capacitors are swelling, your motherboard is failing. There's something you must change it, replace. And then the post beeps, there's certain beeps that mean something, you know. And then if your power on self-test, these certain beeps, it might be good, might be bad. Hardware, error codes. And then the final tip, you need to think like tech, not a robot, you know. Let's slide last. These are the last slide, and this is the last secret. First rule of tech support is always reboot. If it actually solves more than you think, you check, and always check if the simple stuff first, like your power cables, your boot order, and then you use your WinRare, you know, when the Windows won't start, which is actually gonna help with the setup repair of your BFF. Yeah, so that means your Windows will start. Like, the setup repair is your most helpful. Your setup repair is like your most helpful and reliable, you see, and your go-to option, which is like a best friend, you see. So that's why we call your setup repair your BFF. And remember that hardware loves to disguise itself as software. So don't ignore your sense of smell or the sounds or the sights, you know. And finally, document everything. You need to document everything, not just for exams fluff, but even in real life. You're not just passing a test, you're becoming a person who fixes things. And when you're fixing things, you need to document things. So now you've got the 20%, it's time to go and solve 80% of your tech problems.